Me and my wife seem to get a lot more active enjoyment out of not having kids than anyone I know seems to get out of having kids.
Amazing immaturity and ignorance.
I'm so glad I don't have kids right now because
You referenced earlier you don't have any kids.
I do not. That has helped me succeed as well. Some people want kids, some people don't want kids. I think a lot of people have kids before they even think about it. Honestly, the older we get, the more happy and reaffirmed we are with our choice to not have kids. Me and my wife seem to get a lot more active enjoyment out of not having kids than anyone I know seems to get out of having kids.
and so do I,
You
by the
referenced
way.
earlier you don't have any kids.
I do not. That has helped me succeed as well. Definitely.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things is, right now in this world with the economy that we're in, we're kind of in a place where it's like you need to get skills, and if you want to have kids, but having kids and getting an education and getting skills to make enough money to support having kids in this economy is really, really hard. Now, I know lots of people that are doing it, but let me tell you, it's very, very, very hard on them. There's sleepless nights. And I, for one, personally, I believe in the nuclear family. I believe most people are supposed to have kids. As a 28-year-old man, I am so freaking happy I do not have kids. I'm so glad. Like, I am over the... I can't... This will piss a lot of conservatives off. I'm so glad I don't have kids right now because it gives me the opportunity to take big risks and try to start my business. And, I might go broke doing it. I might not, but I'm really glad that I don't have kids. And I'm not trying to project. It's fine if you want to have kids in your early 20s. That's great. You do you. But I just get pissed off when other people who do that try to project that onto me.
There's
I'll
a
do
whole
me.
huge thing I'm not doing,
Thank you.
which is raising children.
Would it, people, obviously someone will be listening, but it would make you happier. Someone might say that. I'm trying to rebuttal.
I don't think it would. I've been around, obviously, a lot of children. I'm not ignorant to what it's like to. I've seen everyone I know has kids. I see. I'm 40 again. It's not. I know. I've some of my friends have had kids for decades. Some people want kids. Some people don't want kids. I think a lot of people have kids before they even think about it. From what I've seen, honestly, you just are told.
I agree.
You go through life, you get married, you have kids. It's what happens. And me and my wife were just, neither of us were like that, And honestly, the older we get, the more happy and reaffirmed we are with our choice to not have kids. It was something we kind of talked about more, and we were like, are we made the right choice? Are we sure? Now, if more than anything, the conversation is honestly, thank God we don't have children. We get to do whatever we want. We are in our we are in the prime of our lives. We are smarter than we've ever been. We understand ourselves more than we ever have. We have the capacity to achieve a level of work and a level of communication and care for one another and a lifestyle we can live with one another that we've never been able to live before. And we can
And that's really, really great. And, in this whole debate, I'm having this debate myself, right? I know I want to get married. I don't know if I want to raise kids. I haven't figured that out yet. I haven't decided. And you know what? In life, you must choose your regrets. There's always going to be stuff that you don't get to do because you can be anything you want. You can do anything you want, just not everything all at once, right? And so maybe I'll regret having kids if I have kids, or maybe I'll regret not having kids, right? And there's always a risk. There's always a risk to these decisions. A life is so risky, you're not going to get out of it alive, guys. That's how risky life is. And so you just have to choose what it is you're going to regret, and then hope and work your butt off to make the thing that you did choose work out. And time comes for us all. We all have a time clock, right? Even as a man, my ability to make babies isn't gonna last forever, right? I'm sure there are some alpha studs out there who make a baby at 90 or something, but that's not most of us. And so realistically, I do have a time clock too. It's a bit longer than women, but we do have these are choices that we have to make in life. And I think it's just really, really unhelpful when other people who have kids just like project onto us. And I understand like they're trying to help. They're trying to help me. But what makes you happy is dependent on you living in congruence with your values. But that's the thing. We might have different values, which means what will make me happy is different than what will make you happy, because happiness is just a symptom of moving towards your goals. And if we have different goals, then what makes you happy might make me miserable, and what makes me happy might make you miserable, right? And so I feel like a lot of times people, they take what works for them and just project it on the other people and think they're helping, but they're not.
Can just do that, and we don't have to raise a child, which the world does not need right now. And so yeah, it's we're very happy with our choice to not have kids. And I work with a lot of people with kids, and I see definitively that I have more time to both do the things I need to do and the things I enjoy doing than they do. Yeah. And not to say their kids don't bring them joy, but I say this truthfully. Me and my wife seem to get a lot more active enjoyment out of not having kids than anyone I know seems to get out of having kids.
Bit of a left field one, but have you observed a point in your trajectory where you become somewhat so successful or somewhat so famous that happiness begins to decline?
No. It was never like, being famous was never like a goal for me, you know what I mean? And so I don't have like this complicated thing where I was trying to become famous, and then I got famous and I realized being famous sucks. I always thought being famous kind of would suck a little bit. And so the idea that it is, it's great in a lot of ways, and it does suck in some ways, but that's not honestly a thing that I have a very conflicted relationship with. I've also been pretty famous since I was like 23 years old, and it's been a very long time since I got pretty famous. So I've had a lot of different relationships with it throughout that time, almost 20 years, I guess. And where I've been at for quite some time has been a pretty good place. And again, I have a lot of famous friends. I see them have much rockier roads dealing with it than I do, Yeah, and as far as success goes, no, if anything, it's great. I get to work with the best, the filmmakers that inspired me to make movies in the first place. I get to, make, they bring us Ninja. I get to make a movie out of a thing I've loved since I was a kid. We just sold a show to Apple that I'm writing and directing and starring in with my partner, so we can come up with original ideas and do whatever the fuck we want, and. So
that's right.
What's the cost?
There's no cost. I don't have kids. If I felt guilty that I was not being a good father, that would suck. I do not have that feeling at all.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, and you always have to choose your regrets. There's always a cost in some ways, and sometimes it's just you get to do this thing, but you don't get to do that thing. And, for me, as long as I have a relationship with Jesus Christ, doing it your way, I still end up dead. Doing it my way, I end up dead. Doing it their way, I end up dead. The middle part is kind of up to me and God. And I don't feel this massive pressure to conform to any one person's ideology or ideas. Think about this. This is where my head's at right now. It's okay, medical technology is so good right now that there's more 100-year-olds than there's ever been, and the number's only going up. So my generation and Gen Z, well, I'm right in the middle between Gen Z and millennials, so 96, right? So it's so many of us, especially those of us who eat healthy, don't smoke, don't put too much crap in our bodies, and work out often, we're gonna live a long time. right? Like I can literally, I could just stay single for the next 15 years, travel the world, work on my business, help people, volunteer my time, build businesses, enjoy festivals, fall in love, be married for 10 years, and still have the opportunity to have kids. Especially if I'm still single then. Like, I could just date girls that are 15, 10 years younger than me. Like, by time that, like, if I just keep doing what I'm doing right now, when I'm 40 years old, I'll be jacked, like Chris Hemsworth. I'll be well-established financially. I'll have a career that I love. And a meaning and purpose that brings me inherent fulfillment and joy, so I won't need to date to feel good about myself. I'll just feel good about myself and then start dating because I want to experience romance. It's like everything in life is figure outable. Like that's one of the core things that I always preach and teach to everybody. It's like you can figure anything out, okay? And so I will just cross that bridge when I come to it. It's like, hey, do I want kids or not? It's like, okay, if I do I want it to be my biological children? Then maybe I need to date women that are quite a bit younger than me. Or maybe I can just date single moms. Hey, pre-made family, nothing wrong with that. Or I can adopt, right? Like, there's so many ways to mitigate the risk. It's just that you can't do everything all at once. And at some point, doors do close. But you don't have to live your life on other people's terms. And honestly, that's what I think I might do. I'm just not, I'm not in a place to commit to having kids right now. I'm really, really committed to my business and the things that I want to do in life, and maybe having romance, but not necessarily having kids for like another 5-7 years. And maybe I will regret that. I've chosen that regret. Because for me, not doing that, I think would be an even bigger regret. And so like we just get to choose what we regret. Will I regret not trying to have kids until I'm 35? Maybe, or maybe I won't. If I have kids now, maybe when I'm 35, I'll regret having them because it would have, created so much financial trouble and difficulty in my life. I didn't get to actually try and do what I wanted. Maybe, right? You just have to choose what you regret. You choose your regrets and that's it. But anyways, let's keep going.
We have a closing tradition on this podcast where the last guest leaves a question for the next guest.
Okay, great.
Not knowing who they're leaving it for. And we have a new tradition on this podcast, which I'll talk to you about.
Great.
The question left for you.
Yeah.
Okay, the handwriting is not the best.
Who left it?
I can't tell you.
Okay,
that's
good.
a secret. Looking back on your love life,
Okay.
can you see patterns in it, good or bad? And what was the greatest love of your life? What did it feel like? And how has it affected you up until this present moment? I guess this is a good time to slide that to you.
There you go, Lauren. Yeah, I mean, I made a whole movie about how I was not well liked in high school by women, and yeah, I was never. No, Lauren, my wife, was the first serious relationship I ever had. I felt deeply in love with her very fast. We essentially moved in together after like a week, and almost have not spent any like significant time apart since then. We've never broken up. We've never had any serious issue throughout the entire time we've been together, which has been like 17 years or something like that.
Congrats.
And if anything, she has like really helped me do better work. She's been a real supporter, and also she herself is a brilliant writer and director and filmmaker. And
this is one of the other things I'll say just because it came up. I personally will be dating according to values and mission and goals. I don't want to just go into dating being desperate and needing some form of affection to validate myself. I want to build myself up into someone that I admire so that I don't need the outside of validation. And then I can go into the relationship for a particular mission, right? So when I figure out what I want to do with my life, it's like, hey, I need a partner to do X, right? I personally want to build my own animation studio and make movies and TV shows like Attack on Titan, One Punch Man, Code Geass, like my favorites. Like that's really what I want to do. And so I need a wife who I'll be looking for a partner who's, loves physical fitness, is on the grind set, has the right mindsets, positive beliefs, right theology, and also loves anime and loves the things that I like and wants to help me be better at the thing that I want to be. That's the key. Like, at least in my mind, that's key. I learned this from Alex Hormozy. Figure out what you want to be, and then date and find someone who makes you better at being who you've chosen to be. I think a lot of people in their early 20s, they're dating because they're horny, they just want to have sex, and like, I just don't see that as and then they marry the person, have kids with them, and the kids just end up being a distraction from the fact that they never actually figured out who they were. And the kids will distract them for 18 years, and then they're like in their 40s, and they're like, who am I? Midlife crisis, there you go. Because they dated, just for a feeling. They didn't have a mission, and then they weren't necessarily compatible, but the kids distracted them from the fact that they didn't know who they were and what they wanted in life, and the fact that they weren't actually great for each other. And then people wonder why people get divorced when the kids are gone. I don't see anything wrong with taking a little bit more time to figure out who you are, what you're about, and what your mission is. That way you can specifically look for people who help you do that. And that's kind of my mindset on the whole thing. But
she's been,
what do I know?
A very, at times, kind of direct voice in improving our work. I think the most tangible thing is the movie Neighbors, which we've talked about in the past, which is our most successful movie we've made. And one of the things people really liked about it specifically was the relationship between me and Rose Byrne's character, and how we are a couple, traditionally in comedy for years, in my entire childhood, pretty much, it's like the comedic dynamic of a married couple was they hated each other. That was the joke. They fucking hated each other. They got on each other's nerves. They didn't like spending time together. The woman was usually annoying. The guy was usually cool and laid back. That was it. That was the comedic dynamic that essentially was like frozen into movie, forever. And Lauren was the one who was like, what if it's like us and they fucking like each other and they both like to smoke weed and they both do stupid things and they both go out and party, and I'm not telling you ever to not do something fucking stupid. If anything, I'm doing stupid things too. And we put that in the movie, and it completely changed the dynamic. And I honestly think it's like one of the reasons the movie became so like liked and successful. And so that's like a specific example, and there's many like.
What's life like without her though?
Thank God there's not a whole lot of life without her. We hang out a lot. I don't really leave LA to make movies anymore. Honestly, part of the reason is I just like spending time with her, and I don't like leaving Los Angeles as a result of it. I used to travel much more to make movies and shoot movies in other cities, and it sucked. And we'd go weeks without seeing each other. And ultimately you're just like, this isn't worth it. Like, this is my life. Like, this is like I'm not like saving up to cash in on something later. Like I'm living my life not being surrounded by the people I want to be surrounded by, so I can go make a movie. And like that at times might be worth it, but I've done everything I can to not have that happen. And
it sounds like he has his priorities right. He's prioritizing his marriage, and like, no wonder he's happy. He has a real human connection that works for him, makes him more of who he wants to be. And people will be like, well, that's not possible for him to be completely fulfilled. He must not be fully fulfilled. He has to have kids too, and he's missing out by not having kids. Really? Having kids is a great thing, and 80% of people should probably do it. But what do you really need to be fulfilled? Meaning and connection. He has his purpose, he makes movies, and he has a partner that he genuinely likes and likes him back, and makes him better at who he wants to be. Check. Like, and people are like, oh, how could he be happy? That's how he's happy. He knows who he is, he knows what he wants to do, and he has a marriage that helps him be more of what he wants to be in this life. Of course he's happy. Like, and everybody feels the need to project and be like, oh, you're missing out. Like, maybe he is, maybe he's not. How could we possibly know? Right?
And if you're willing to make a little less money, you can more often than not shoot a movie in Los Angeles.
That's nice.
If you love the Diary of a
All right, but we got to hear from Michael Knowles.
There is a clip of Seth Rogan that is 2 or 3 years old at this point, but it's gone viral in recent days because it's really captured the zeitgeist. And it's this clip of Joe Rogan, I think he was on the Howard Stern show, bragging about how wonderful his life is because he does not have children. Take it
Seth
away.
Rogan.
We have so much fun. Like, I don't know anyone who gets as much happiness out of their kids as we get out of our non-kids. Like, we're psyched all the time. We're laying in bed on Saturday morning, smoking weed, like watching movies naked, just being like, if we had kids, we could not be doing this. Like, this is, well, like, there is no one whose child is giving them as much joy as we are right now getting because we do not have a kid.
Okay, before I get into all the dumb things he just said, I owe an apology to Joe Rogan. I can't believe, because I don't think about Seth Rogan that much, and Joe Rogan is a much more important cultural figure. So I accidentally said Joe Rogan. So Joe Rogan and Seth Rogan are very different people. They both apparently love marijuana, so I guess they do have that in common. But otherwise, Joe is basically a very sensible guy. Seth Rogan, not very sensible at all. And what he said here is certainly not sensible. We have so much fun. I don't know anyone who gets as much happiness out of their kids as we get out of our non-kids. Like, we're effing psyched all the time. We're laying in bed on Saturday mornings, smoking weed, watching movies naked. If we had kids, we could not be effing doing this. I agree that you should probably not puff the devil's lettuce when you have kids. I know people who do it and who have done it, and it can be done, I suppose, probably not advisable. But you can watch movies naked, even if you procreate. You don't want to do it probably when they're awake. Probably wait until they go to bed or something like. But you can. It's okay. You can.
Yeah.
Even if you have children, you can go into your bedroom or into the shower or something. You can undress. You can still do that. It's not that you have to wear a uniform all the time. You can watch movies. So you can watch movies sometimes with your children, or if you want to watch an R-rated movie, you can watch that once your children go to bed or take a nap. You can do that.
Really
and I know
though?
that potheads who are totally not addicted in any way, it's not addictive at all, and it becomes their whole personality, but they're not addicted. I know it's difficult to believe, but I've puffed the devil's lettuce once or twice. I'm not proud of it, but every now and again, back in my wayward youth. And there are better things. Kids actually are better than that sticky, icky, kush. All right, I promise you. Mm-hmm. The kids are better. So why does he really believe this, or is he just fooling him?
Well, I would definitely agree that kids are better than drugs. I do not suggest that you make your life purpose drugs and just smoking weed. Unless you're Seth Rogan and you're already established in your career and you have a lot of money and it doesn't stop you from doing a thing that you like, you probably should not avoid responsibility in order to do drugs. That's a terrible idea, and I would definitely agree with that. But the broader, thing here is that, like, for me, a lot of times it's like, yeah, everything he said is right, but then it's just going to pivot into projecting and say that you can't possibly be fulfilled fully unless you have kids. And I just don't see that.
Himself. In the case of Seth Rogan, look, some people just can't have kids. It's terribly sad. It's a very difficult thing. Sometimes people then adopt, or sometimes people just get more involved with their godchildren or their community or whatever. Some people are called to religious life. So having kids is not for everybody. But to choose a bong over a child speaks to either a profound degree of denial or just an amazing immaturity and ignorance. But I kind of get it, because you see it, especially with millennials and with even Zoomers. There was this reluctance today to have kids.
That's what you chose.
And the reason is people don't feel that they're mature enough to have kids. And in many cases, they're right about that. So they need to get mature, but they don't want to do that. This is why this term adulting has become popular, because people are just very afraid of growing up. And maybe it's because they weren't educated to grow up. Maybe it's because our public education system failed, and because our parents were too soft, and because our country's too decadent. I don't know. I mean, you can come up with a million excuses, but just figure it out, guys, because it's not whatever propaganda we were fed as children, that, the children are the future. Well, the future's now. Actually, the children, they understand. From the voice of babes, we learn the wonders of the world. No, actually, kids are uneducated by definition. And
Yeah, duh.
I guess what we were told, the culture that we grew up in, seemed to be that this is as good as it gets. Don't grow up too fast. This is as good as it gets. Enjoy, take your time. Don't worry about working too hard. You'll get inflated grades anyway. Don't go to college, party for 4 years. It doesn't even matter if you work that hard in college. Just enjoy it. This is as good as it gets. And then life just gets harder and worse and worse. And life does get a little bit harder in the sense that you have more responsibilities, fewer excuses. But life gets better. It gets better, actually. The best is yet to come, and babe, won't that be fine? That's one of my favorite lines.
And this is all true, and men should not be without responsibility. And so, but it just does not follow that you should all take on the responsibility of children right away. Like, I have responsibilities. I'm part-time caretaker for certain individuals. I'm building my own business. I owe it to myself and my future to get this done. I'm responsible for my body. And, you should definitely not trade responsibility for carefree living. But there's a large umbrella of what you can choose to be responsible for. And I just don't think that it logically follows that having dependents, huge responsibility. It might be the biggest responsibility ever. And I personally witnessed young men who are very irresponsible become very, very responsible by getting married and having kids. And it was a beautiful thing to watch because they turned into real men, and that was awesome. It just doesn't have to be that way for you. It can happen in different ways because we all live different lives. And I think the thing that I'm really just trying to drive home here is that we need to think about this in a more nuanced way and stop projecting onto other people. It's like, if you're happy you have kids, fantastic. Like, if you're happy you don't have kids, fantastic. I personally am very, very happy that I do not have kids and will not have kids in my 20s. That's my choice, and I do not regret it. So far, I have not regretted not having kids. I might regret it later, but again, in life we have to choose our regrets, and that's a risk I'm willing to take in order to give myself a shot at being an entrepreneur and actually building the life that I actually want to have. And so, I think we can actually pair Michael Knowles' opinion with Seth Rogan's opinion in that you should not avoid responsibility to do drugs. Seth Rogan can smoke weed because he's already rich and he already has his purpose and he already has a partner that helps him be more of who he wants to be. And if he wants to be a pothead, he has the perfect wife for him. And so, of course, he's happy, right? And so don't avoid responsibility for endless pleasure because that'll get old fast. And then choose your own regrets. You have to choose your regrets because you can't do everything. You can do anything, but not everything all at once. And time will run out eventually. And then what we do is, before you start, this is just what I personally have decided for myself. Before I start dating, I'm going to be really, really clear on on my mission and where I want my life to go. And I'm going to date to find someone to help me in that mission. They're going to have similar beliefs, similar values, and they're going to be excited about the things that make me excited. So they'll end up being a great partner. I'm not just going to go into the dating pool and date someone I think is cute and will let me bang him. Like that seems like a recipe for disaster, right? It worked out for Seth Rogan, luckily for him. But, I think there's a balance that we can shape here.
From the American Songbook. It was my quote, my yearbook quote, both in high school and college. I love that line. And it's been my experience. It's true. It does get better. But you have to be able to kill the pleasures that you've got now. C.S. Lewis made this point, I forget in which book, when he said, when you're a little kid, you can't imagine there's anything as good as chocolate. And then if you hear about something called sex, you say, oh, there's no way sex is better than unless sex must involve chocolate. If sex is, and you say, well, no, it's not supposed to at least. But you can't, when you're a kid, you just can't imagine that. Then you find out, oh, sex actually is better than chocolate. But that's where most people stop. They say, oh, sex or whatever, just pleasure or smoking pot or whatever. That's as good as it gets. There is something better. But in order to discover that, you have to be willing to sacrifice. You have to be willing to risk the childish pleasures that you have now and put away the things of the child when you become
100%.
a man. Otherwise, you end up as an overgrown child smoking pot, naked in bed, watching movies alone. Diet Coke.
Well, he doesn't watch movies alone. He watches movies with his wife. And again, you know, Seth Rogan has the responsibility of making movies, and that's the responsibility that he wants. And he has the responsibility of his marriage, and that's what makes him happy. The point is, you do have to put off childish pleasures and choose your regrets and take on some form of responsibility. And start by doing the best with what we have in this life, and we go from there. With all that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you found anything I said interesting or offensive or problematic, be sure to comment your thoughts down below and ask me and tell me more, clips that I should be reacting to, checking out, and sort of helping you guys process through. I really do enjoy doing this with you guys, and so hope to see you soon. Cheers.